The trial continues in federal court for 3 former Minneapolis police officers charged with violating George Floyd's civil rights.
We want to check in now with our Rob Olson, who joins us with the very latest from court. Rob?
Yeah, this morning, all morning on the stand, Mackenzie Anderson, a BCA crime scene investigator, getting grilled by defense attorneys on the cross-examination, wanting to know why her initial searches of the squad car and the Mercedes that George Floyd was in, she didn't pick up pills that were found later to contain fentanyl and methamphetamine. These were recovered in searches months later. Now, whether they're trying to suggest the investigation was sloppy or that George Floyd had ingested more drugs than the medical experts have caught, we'll find out once they start presenting their case. This afternoon, it was the head of the Minneapolis homicide unit testifying about how he felt these 3 officers failed in their duties.
This is Thomas Lane's body cam video as Lieutenant Richard Zimmerman, head of the Minneapolis Homicide Unit, first walks up to Lane and J. Alexander King on the night that George Floyd was murdered.
How you doing, Lieutenant?
What's going on?
That video a big part of Zimmerman's testimony for federal prosecutors, who first had him go over the department policy on truthfulness, which includes to not omit pertinent information to supervisors. Lane and King are heard in the video explaining what happened, but go right from Floyd still moving and breathing to the ambulance arriving. Zimmerman, seen here testifying in Derek Chauvin's trial, said Lane and King said nothing about how long Floyd was restrained or the knee to the neck or not finding a pulse. Defense attorneys are consistently making a case that Lane and King, only days into the job, were too afraid to intervene with Chauvin. Asked about department duty to intervene policy and if that's difficult to do as rookies, he said, "I don't know if it's more difficult, but it's their duty to do that."
Are you a firefighter?
Yes, I am from Minneapolis.
Okay, then get on the sidewalk.
2 Tao's attorneys repeatedly stated Tao's attention was on an angry crowd, too occupied to intervene or offer aid. Zimmerman said they weren't a threat. They were actually trying to help with their suggestions.
Now, it's been interesting in the cross-examination. Earl Gray, who represents Thomas Lane, has repeated something with many of these witnesses, in which his cross-examination doesn't pick apart their testimony. It basically goes through and said, did you see my client, Thomas Lane, call an ambulance? Did you see him suggest they roll George Floyd over? Did you see him go offer CPR in the ambulance? So the answers are all yes in that, as if he's trying to just hammer that home for the jury about the efforts that Thomas Lane did make. Now, we learned today that there's a handful of witnesses left for the prosecution tomorrow. They think they may wrap up their side of the case tomorrow, which means then the defense would likely start either sometime tomorrow or more likely on Monday. Live in St. Paul, Rob Olson, Fox 9.
All right, thanks, Rob. Well, a state security team